Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, December 14th, 2015. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm very happy to be joined by the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Bill, unfortunately, Tristan Wallace decommitted from Ohio State, flipped to Oregon. Give the listeners the backstory. What really happened here? Did Ohio State cool on him at all, or was this all Tristan?
Well, it really wasn't unexpected. We've been kind of talking about this on the front row that Tristan had been looking around, and obviously everyone knew Ohio State was looking around too, because Duane Haskins was on campus for an official visit, and then a little while back I had a story about the Buckeyes dropping in on Tylen Oden, that Tim Beck had dropped in, or I should say that gotten in contact originally with Tylen Oden. That translated into Tim Beck dropping in to visit Tylen Oden, and so certainly, from both sides of things, it's been known that Tristan Wallace might not end up in this Ohio State recruiting class. In fact, as things went on, I really thought that he wouldn't end up in the class. I was asked that question, and I mentioned something, I believe in what I am hearing, that I thought there was a better chance that Duane Haskins or Tyler Oden would end up in the class than would Tristan Wallace. So when he decommitted on Sunday night, it wasn't a shock. The situation simply was that he did not have a spectacular year at quarterback, and he began entertaining the idea of playing another position. Certainly Ohio State has to have a quarterback in this recruiting class. If you look at the depth, they really have to have a 2016 quarterback in the class. And when he began entertaining the thought of playing other positions, that made it a necessity for Ohio State to look at other quarterbacks, and that's how everything kind of transpired from there.
Speaking of Duane Haskins, give us the latest on him. In the end, do you think he will be a Buckeye?
If I had to make a prediction right now, I'd probably go with yes, he'll be a Buckeye. Things went extremely well over the weekend. I did a piece where I got comments from most of the prospects that made official visits to Ohio State this weekend that had already committed to the Buckeyes, and there's a very positive feeling among those prospects that things went so well that he will be a Buckeye. Now, he hasn't decommitted from Maryland yet, and he, of course, hasn't committed to Ohio State yet. So, time will tell. We will see. But my feeling right now is that that's trended definitely Ohio State's way, and that there's a very realistic chance that he will be a Buckeye. Not a done deal, I caution, not a done deal by any stretch of the imagination. Maryland's not going to let him go easy, and other schools also are recruiting Duane, and again, he hasn't made a decision yet. But certainly there's a rosy feeling from, the Ohio State side of things and Buckeye Nation after this past weekend's official visit for Duane.
Bill, do you think that DJ Durkin, you might know this, you might think this or you might know this, do you think DJ Durkin is telling Duane Haskins, you can start as a freshman if you come to Maryland? Do you think he's telling him that?
I don't think he's telling him that. I think, like most coaches, he would sell the idea that the opportunity is there, show him the depth chart and say that, you're good enough to take advantage of this opportunity, but very seldom will college coaches flat out promise something like that. That doesn't happen often because they can get you into a problem. If it doesn't happen, it makes you out to be the liar, so to speak. If the prospect isn't good enough, then that can be a problem. But I think certainly the idea will be sold to them that the opportunity is there. Look at the opportunity ahead of you, and you'll have every chance to fulfill that possibility.
Bill, give us the latest on defensive tackle recruiting. I know the Buckeyes are earning some big guys, literally and figuratively. Who do you think they'll end up with? Just anything you want to say about defensive tackle recruiting that the listener needs to know about.
Well, this is a big week. You've got Antoine Jackson making his announcement on Thursday afternoon. He made the official visit to Auburn this past weekend. Ohio State did drop in to see him after that official visit, after he got back on Sunday evening, because, of course, the dead period starts today. So Ohio State did get their last pitch in to see him. He is going to announce on Thursday. While he's mentioning 3 schools, realistically it's going to come down to Ohio State or Auburn. Talking to someone from the Auburn side of things yesterday, they continue to feel good about that, but not so good that they think it's a done deal. As it was put to me, 51% Auburn, 49% Ohio State. Now, we'll see. People, feel that's trending towards Auburn, and no one is going to know for sure until Thursday when Antoine makes that announcement. Then after that, you've got kind of what I call the Big Four: Antoine Jackson, Rashard Lawrence, Dexter Lawrence, and Rashawn Gary. I long ago crystal balled Dexter Lawrence to Clemson. My feeling hasn't changed one bit there. Rashard Lawrence is an interesting situation. He may not take any other official visits now, and the only 2 he's been on are Ohio State and UCLA. Between those 2 schools, I like Ohio State's chances. He doesn't need to take an official visit to LSU. He's been there many times, and the rehiring of I don't know if I'd say rehiring, but the assurance that Les Miles is not going to be fired is certainly in LSU's favor, at least temporarily, with Rashard Lawrence. He did not necessarily want to go through a coaching change at LSU at this point, so he doesn't need to take an official visit to LSU. I still think right now it's going to come down to LSU or Ohio State, and he knows full well the opportunity that's available for him at Ohio State. So that's very enticing to him, that opportunity, but he is a Louisiana kid, so we'll see on that one. He's likely to make a decision sometime in the first part of January, so we'll see. And then you've got Rashawn Gary, who the Buckeyes are still recruiting. Right now, I think that that's a Michigan situation to lose, so to speak. I think Michigan leads for him. They did make one more visit before the dead period with him last night, but I can tell you that Ohio State is still working on that, and Greg Schiano was the first one to offer him a scholarship, so I believe I put something in my What I Am Hearing About This that that could help Ohio State some. So we'll see what happens with Rashawn Gary. The key is for Ohio State to try to get him back on campus for an official visit sometime in January. We'll see if that happens.
Bill, we have 3 questions from readers on the front row message board I want to pass along to you. The first one is from Bumbuck. He asks, Bill, who are the 5 or 6 players that will close out the class for Ohio State?
Boy, that's a $1 million question, and right now I think I feel pretty good about at least a couple of them. Malik Harrison, the athlete from Columbus Walnut Ridge, not quite some time, but a little while back, I crystal balled Malik Harrison to Ohio State, and I think that one will come down to Ohio State or Wisconsin, and I like the Buckeyes' chances there. I also like the Buckeyes' chances with the defensive back that made an official visit over the weekend, Johnson Went. Right now, Johnson Went is a Temple commitment, but he is in the next 2 weeks going to make his final decision between Ohio State and Temple, and I like Ohio State's chances there. So that would be 2 of the 5 or 6. As I mentioned at the beginning of this show, Dave, I like the chances now of Duane Haskins being in the class. So that would be number 3. From there, then, obviously, Ohio State still got to get at least one defensive tackle. Who will it be? We'll see. They'd like to have 2. If they could get Antoine Jackson, for instance, and Rashard Lawrence, they would be ecstatic. Or if they could get Rashawn Gary in there. But we'll see. But they've got to get a defensive tackle for one of those slots, at least one defensive tackle. They also would like another defensive back, someone like a Jordan Fuller or a Damar Hamlin they would love to have. Those aren't going to be easy, certainly, but they're still in the running. We'll see what happens with those guys. But they also would like a pure linebacker. Malik Harrison could be that linebacker, certainly. He's got that potential. In fact, I think he's going to end up as a linebacker if he goes to Ohio State. That's just my feeling from seeing him in the video and all that. I like him a linebacker. but he could go to Ohio State as a wide receiver. He likes that position, so we'll see. But the linebacker would be the other position to potentially fill.
Next question is from PS3 Brandon. He asks, Bill, when it comes to Benjamin Victor, how good of a relationship does he have with Mark Richt? Do you think this will come down to an Ohio State versus Miami battle? And if so, what are your feelings on where he ends up?
I think he certainly has a relationship with Richt, and his teammate does too, Malik Young, who made an official visit to Ohio State with Benjamin. So very much I think he could end up at Miami. You know, I've been feeling, and I came very close at one point, very close to crystal balling him to Ohio State. But with the Miami situation, I've backed off a little bit on that. I still think he ends up at Ohio State, Florida, or Miami, and I still give Ohio State a little bit of an advantage right now, but I think the situation with Richt at Miami has made things a little bit tougher for the Buckeyes.
And final question from a reader, Buckeye 1980 asks, Bill, will the staff bank scholarships for the 2017 class if they end up missing out on guys like Jackson, Victor, Corley, and Lawrence, or will we begin to see other offers go out like Jason Wint?
I think the only way they bank scholarships is if they absolutely cannot get players that they think are Ohio State caliber players, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think in the end they're going to get Ohio State caliber players, whether it be a Jordan Fuller later on or a Damar Hamlin later on or somebody that they go out and they offer a scholarship to later on. They're only going to offer a scholarship to somebody if they think that prospect is an Ohio State caliber player. And my feeling is when it's all said and done, Ohio State's got a great situation to sell to prospects. As you know, Dave, there's going to be a number of guys leaving early for the NFL. There's also, of course, the senior class leaving. So there's going to be some positions open. And while Ohio State has a lot of talent on hand, there's also the room to come in and play. So I think with the opportunity and with what Ohio State has to offer, they will fill those spots up in this class with prospects that they feel are good enough to play at Ohio State. And in the end, Urban Meyer's had a way of having at least one or two surprise, so to speak, players commit at the end. You go back to Von Bell, which a lot of people didn't think Ohio State was in a great position to land. Urban Meyer's a great closer, and I think he'll close just fine this season.
Great insights from the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Thank you very much, Bill. To the listeners out there, Bill's going to be on the front row message board all day. He always is answering your questions. So if you have any more questions, get on the front row message board and ask the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Thanks again to Bill. Thanks to you for tuning into the show. I appreciate it and hope you have a great day. Take it away, best damn band in the land.